The Mediterranean Sea is the cradle of the culture named after it. It is also the eastern border of Sagunto's territory, completely open to the sea. This clean sea mirrors Sagunto 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Its geographical position creates its pleasant Mediterranean microclimate, offering 6 months of warm sunny weather. 13 kilometers of pristine coastline make up Sagunto's municipal district. There are 4 sandy beaches with herbaceous vegetation on fixed dunes: Port of Sagunto, Almarda, Corinto and Malvarosa. All of them are ideal leisure and relaxation spots. Ever since 1987, their clear waters have earned the Blue Flag status and the Q for Tourist Quality certification. Port of Sagunto's superb beach has all the services visitors may need. Security patrols, lifeguards and first aid staff will take care of you while you take a dip. There are quality services such as footbridges and foot showers, as well as access for the handicapped and new chemical WCs. You may also choose a book from Bibliomar, our lending library set up right on the beach. Read while you get a tan. But relaxing is not everything. The town also has an official and fully equipped nudist beach. As in other nearby beaches, you're safe and protected, whether you choose to be alone, in a privileged environment, or with family and friends. Protecting the environment and guaranteeing its enjoyment are probably 2 of Sagunto's greatest commitments. The town regularly monitors its water quality. It has also developed ecotourism routes that combine the coastline with mountainous terrain. We can venture from the rugged Malvarosa beach of Corinto to the spectacular dunes of Almardar beach and beyond to the post-industrial town of El Grau, a former Iberian and Roman settlement. The small stronghold of El Grau is but one of many spots of ethnographic and tourist interest to see. The maritime settlement of El Grau Vale, founded between the 1st and 2nd centuries before Christ, and the fort itself dates from the 15th century. It's made up of a fortified tower, warehouses, and a defense battery. The sea-carved slag cliffs from the former blast furnaces of the Mediterranean contrast with the lime-white facades of the old maritime village. The area is imbued with the traditional style of fishermen's villages that took on a heavy industrial aspect in the early 20th century. Next to El Grau, we come across La Marjal dels Moros, a wetland of great ecological value. A wide range of native species as well as many migrating birds shelter here in the winter. In the former 17th century farmstead, L'Alqueria dels Fares, we can visit the Valentine Community Center for Environmental Education. Here we can obtain information about routes and other activities within the area of La Marjal and El Grau Vale. Indeed, Sagunto has a broad spectrum of contrasting environments that enhance tourist activities. But Sagunto has more than just coastline to offer. There are many other possibilities, as it's located in the foothills of the Calderona mountain range, now declared a natural park. Within this park, there are several artistic heritage listings. Lots of trekking and mountain bike routes converge on such natural spots as Santo Spiritu, Le Font de Quart, or Povijol. They're ideal for a family outing. This mountain range comprises the peaks of Monte Piccaio and the emblematic Garbi. Stretches of typical Mediterranean woodlands can be admired from the Garbi vantage point. This city was by far the richest one south of the Ebro, and it was settled at no more than 1,000 steps from the sea. They claimed to be native to the island of Jacinto, and they mixed with some natives of Ardea, the Rutelos tribe. Their goods increased in value so much over such a short time, perhaps because of their maritime and land resources, perhaps because of the growth of their population, or because of the integrity of their upbringing, which made them respect the alliance with their allies and ultimately causing their own downfall. Preserving and spreading the rich heritage of Sagunto means keeping alive this legacy. Its history goes back to the 5th century BC, when the Iberian city of Arce was built. It was a rich civilization of traders, coveted by the Romans and the Carthaginians. In the year 218 BC, the Carthaginian Hannibal laid siege to the city, causing the Roman armies to move towards Hispania. The Iberian settlement then became a Roman city. Arce was renamed Saguntum. The city was to have a second period of splendor under Islamic rule, thanks to its thriving agriculture, commerce and craftwork. In the Islamic era, a castle was built in the area of Albacar, as well as most of the city walls. The current complex is the result of successive rebuilding by the Islamic conquerors. Christian settlers were to make some partial alterations, as did French engineers during the War of Independence. Located in San Fernando Square, the antiquarium contains one of the richest epigraphic collections in the Iberian Peninsula. The religious epigraphs found in Sagunto refer to Versailles, a Roman college of 12 priests consecrated to the worship of Mars. These inscriptions also reflected the tribute paid to other gods, like to Diana, Isis, or Liber Pater. People only yearn for two things: bread and sheer spectacle. Theatre is lust, circus is anxiety, and sand cruelty. The Roman amphitheatre of Sagunto can hold up to 4,000 people and still presides over the town in spite of the ups and downs it has endured. The worst damage occurred during the War of Independence. The theatre was built in the 1st century AD under the reign of Emperor Tiberius. The hillside offered a perfect site for the carving of the 3 layers of seating, the cavea, made with limestone obtained in situ. The dynamization plan for tourism in Sagunto is now working on the recovery of one of the most important vestiges of Hebrew culture in our country. Visitors will be able to explore the culture and legacy of the Hebrew community which once lived in the city, thanks to an original walk being prepared. It reproduces a dozen graves, a ritual fountain, and offers explanatory panels. To enhance this walk, a visitor centre is now being built by the gates of the castle and close to the future Acropolis. People will be able to bear witness to one of the key cultures in the city's history. Legendary civilizations have turned Sagunto into a crucible of cultures, particularly in terms of architecture. Over 1,300 years ago, after invasions by tribes such as the Goths or the Vandals, the Arabs landed in Sagunto. They renamed the city Muvitar after the ancient Roman walls. The urban layout was modified according to the Quran. Streets couldn't be more than 7 feet wide. Street frontages and corners were set aside for private property. Houses were enlarged and alleys were locked for safety. In 1238, King James I arrived in Balaisia. Muvitar soon became Morvedre, a Christian territory. This deeply changed Sagunto's town planning. The Christian mentality burst in with energy. Old souks became noble houses. One of the leading Christian families settling in Sagunto after the Reconquest was the Berengers. This was a French lineage whose knights had crossed the border to fight the Muslims. In 1334, the first stone of the church of Santa Maria was laid upon the foundations of the former main mosque. Built in the traditional Valencian Gothic style, it has 3 naves 20 meters high, with buttresses containing the side chapels. It was given the National Monument status in 1982. The present belfry was erected at the beginning of the 20th century in a Gothic revival style. In 1913, it was crowned with an iron framework due to the influence of cast iron architecture and the flourishing steel mills of the nearby port. Close to Santa Maria, we find the main square, where the 3 principal streets, Cavallers, Castel and Major, converge. This rectangular square, originally Gothic, used to be the focal point of local life in the Christian era. Its arches still rest upon shafts of Roman columns. Here, wills were disclosed and auctions and weekly markets were held. The jury of waters and the jury of the villa met here to settle disputes. As they go up to the castle from the main square, visitors will come across the Sagunto History Museum. This Gothic building may have been a district market hall or slaughterhouse. It hosts pieces of pottery dating from the Bronze Age, Iberian vessels, mosaics and coins. Among the archaeological remains, the most prominent are a Bacchus-style Hermes and a head presumably belonging to the goddess Diana. Opposite the museum, there's the Jewish quarter. In the 13th century, King James I gave the Jews the Old Blood district in reward for having helped him in his battles. The original gateway still stands at the entrance of the street, de la Sangveia. Shrines were the closest architectural intermediary between the city quarters and the deity. Their construction was encouraged, and this led to the city's restructuring around these new parish churches. Simple yet important, these worship sites underpin the layout of the old city. Today these spaces house the arts project known as Peregrinatio. Photography, video, audio-visual installations, shrines are thereby taken back to life by offering visitors an artistic route that will leave no one feeling indifferent. In 1917, the first train loaded with a cargo of iron ore arrived in the port of Sagunto bound for England. It was to be shipped by the Basque company Sota y Aznar, located on the port quay. Basque entrepreneurs had designed a profitable plan to extract iron ore from the Ojos Negros mines in Teruel. They had their own railway, their own quay and their own ships. This scheme marked the early urban development of the largely working-class port. Humble but proud, the workers were eager to fight for their livelihood. The development of the railway and the quay and the new iron and steel industry created a new urban fabric, diametrically opposed to the prevailing culture. Located next to the wide beach, its buildings are inspired by the traditional Basque and English architecture, and the locals have an unmistakable working-class character. Since the dawn of time, fishing has been a common practice in these waters. At the beginning of the 20th century, fishermen watched how the now defunct steel industry grew stronger while they kept on fishing. At dawn, when they glanced ashore, they recalled their families who were still in bed. They saw the colossal blast furnaces dominating the stark landscape, the clouds pierced by high chimneys churning out black smoke. Work on Blast Furnace No. 2 began in 1922, which years later would symbolize the birth of the port. Designed by Frank C. Roberts, it would not start producing cast iron until 1926. The final restoration plan will make of it a world reference for the renovation of industrial heritage. Its original structure will be partially recovered, so it will be open to the public. It will house a visitors' centre where people will be able to watch interesting audio visuals, and there'll be a virtual reconstruction of the blast furnace in operation. The dynamization plan for the tourist product of Sagunto also envisages one of the main requirements for the recovery of the industrial heritage in the port, the construction of the Industrial Archaeology Museum. It will reflect the vestiges as well as the popular culture connected to the steel industry of the port. It will occupy the old machinery spare parts warehouse and mould depot, built in 1927. The facade will have bichrome classic elements, reflecting the style of a general workshop. Behind the Church of Begonia we find the company's store and the manager's office, which included the general office. Here too are the gardens of the AHM, Recreational and Cultural Club, which was reserved for engineers and their families. Now it's a cafe surrounded by a garden. Next to the offices is the old residential area known as the Blue Houses. It was conceived as housing for the technicians, as they were not to mix with the workers. The working class district of the port is made up of 115 identical single-family dwellings, intended for the Mediterranean Steel Company workers. They're still inhabited, as are most of the working class houses in the town. The Biscay Blast Furnaces Sanatorium offered medical attention to workers injured in the factories or mines. It consisted of a two-story functional building surrounded by a garden. It was erected in 1940 to replace the old hospital, and its installations were widely imitated. It was equipped with operating theatres and the latest technical innovations, maternity and rehabilitation wards, and a team of specialists covering almost every field. Now this building houses the Port of Sagunto Civic Centre, which includes a municipal library, a communications centre and an exhibition hall. At nightfall, these colossal factories and rough buildings acquire a macabre, eerie experience, an almost supernatural look created by the expressionist illumination installed in recent stages of restoration. And so it is in the Blast Furnace No. 2, a vestige of the industrial age. The beating of its incandescent bowels tells the time as if it were an everlasting fire. The blast furnace was the place where molten iron flew through troughs, small wagons and casts, and acquired its final solid shape. The project will ultimately be a world reference in industrial heritage restoration. The main shed, the general workshops, a huge metal and stone box with huge windows, is now La Nau, a space dedicated to theatre. This prime space is used for the Festival of Sagunto on stage. The Church of Begonia, built in 1929 and very similar to its counterpart in the city of Bilbao, dominates the Alameda, the meeting point for the port locals. By midday, tired visitors avidly looking for a snack will be amazed by the old town's sunny pavement cafes, where cold beers and good wine are served with an appetizer. By the wall of the monumental theatre, on the way down from the Roman castle, these fabulous terraces sum up the Mediterranean way of life, a pleasure for the senses. You might like to rest by the old fountain under massive pines, gently rocked by the breeze. You may dream of long ago, almost hear the hustle and bustle of the old Jewish quarter, or indeed savour the vapours of the good cellar, one of ancient Rome's finer habits. Viticulture is deeply rooted in Sagunto. Though not of the highest quality, local wines have been produced and exported since Roman times. The harbour in Grau Vale and the countless remains of amphore, manufactured in the villas around the city, reflect the importance of local wine. Murviedro's wine is not mentioned in the classics until the end of the 1st century, nor was there any mention of Iberian wines elaborated before the Romans. Nowadays, this doesn't happen. We can come across, hidden in the narrow streets of the old town, places where we can have a better selection of the most spiritual beverages in our country. In vino veritas. Rice is the basic ingredient in the local traditional cuisine. Paella is a local speciality par excellence. The origin of the paella, as it is with all popular dishes, is just the result of putting together products that are available. Valencia is a rich irrigated area used for the cultivation of fresh vegetables. People also used to breed chickens and rabbits for food. The proximity of the Albufera Lake and its rice fields meant that duck was sometimes added to the paella. Fish and seafood from the coast and olive oil, used all over the Mediterranean, complete the list of ingredients for this typical dish. Sagunto has a handcrafted motif of particular interest. It is a cylindrical vessel made of cork with handles and metal accessories, which was first conceived so that the farmers had fresh water while working in the fields. There are two models of drinking jug named colcho and colcha, depending on their design, whether they be vertical or horizontal. As for cold dishes, Sagunto has the Roman-inspired tomato tart and the tuna pasty with vegetables and a hard-boiled egg, as well as the tasty meatballs and cod balls. Desserts are normally the fruit in season, namely the wide range of oranges. Orchards characterize the landscape of the Sagunto Plains. Local mythology speaks of golden apples, probably referring to the prized orange. From there, the trees spread to southern Spain and then to the rest of Europe. the dynamization plan for the tourist project of Sagunto has organized the 4th Gastronomic Sagunto contest. This contest has among its objectives to make the use of oranges popular in local cuisine and to encourage restaurants to include on their menus recipes with this ingredient. Tourists can thereby find a new lure to Sagunto that can differentiate the city from other tourist destinations. Prestigious participants, who presented more than 20 different dishes, and a highly respected jury have been summoned for this acclaimed contest. Every day's catch is taken to the fishmongers, but it's usually at the municipal markets where the autochthonous fresh product has traditionally been sold. The same applies for the other types of fresh food and groceries. The area around the beach contains most of the restaurants and bars. It's the complex where the locals as well as their neighbours from Sagunto like to gather. It also attracts people from all over the Morvedre Shire. Since the 1960s, the port has been a busy place with plenty of leisure opportunities. Its inhabitants also have the right to fun and recreation after a hard working day. The old-time bars and pubs aesthetically blend with the new ones thanks to the foresight of the port restaurateurs. At night, visitors can enjoy a savoury dinner. They will have a lot of different choices, but one of the most attractive is the snacking or famous tapas or picoteo. A variety of fish, meat and vegetable dishes are shared with mates at the table. These are all typical Mediterranean recipes. Valencian cuisine stands out for its wide range of rice dishes, and the various kinds of paella are the most popular. The paella can be found almost in every restaurant in town. A fine selection of vegetable recipes, fish dishes, and legume stews reflecting the Mediterranean diet can be found on most menus. There are also places that stand out for the quality of the product, though an original touch of creativity graces every dish. Local restaurateurs know by intuition the taste of regular clients, as well as their appetite for new experiences. That's why they keep on researching and improving these places as an Epicurean principle. And of course, there's a space for creative Mediterranean cuisine. These restaurants, like the ones mentioned before, are located at the seaside. Cooks have the difficult task of nourishing not only the body, but also the spirit. Decoration becomes more sophisticated. Lighting now enlightens. And creative design contributes to an intimate atmosphere, a sensation often enhanced by the live jazz musicians.
En mi pueblo hay gente pura que habla con el corazón. Mujeres cuando andan que brillan con el sol. Caminan al son de este
The port of Sagunto has live music to suit all tastes. There's always been an agenda. But it is probably in this day and age when every music genre has found its place here, from jazz, blues, rock, pop, and all the way to flamenco.
Abre los brazos, el cielo es tuyo, campeón. Un brindis por nosotros, nueva generación. Nuevo agosto, aquí tienes cultura para aburrir a más de un tonto. En el muelle es donde me inspiro y donde siento que yo crezco. Oh.
This sustained cultural impetus favours literary, photographic and other fine arts awards. A local theatre festival, spring concerts, art shows and sacred music concerts at Easter. Sagunto's busy cultural life requires important infrastructure, like the ones located in the Old Town, the Joaquin Rodrigo Municipal Auditorium, the Capellan Payares Cultural Center, and the Glorieta Exhibition Hall, funded by the Bancaja Foundation. Or the no less important ones in the port, the Municipal Cultural Center, the Civic Center, and the Alameda Social Institute, also funded by the Bancaja Foundation. The General Garage Plant, La Nau, and the Roman Theatre are venues for the summer festival, Sagunto on Stage, as well as for the Greco-Roman Festival in April. Sagunto on Stage is a theatre, music and dance festival organised by Teatres de la Generalitat Valenciana in collaboration with the Sagunto Town Hall. The festival, held during the summer months, and its programme combines classical and modern plays. It is staged by the most prestigious companies, both national and international. This has placed it among the handful of important events that are pillars of the Valencia community's arts agenda. Las Fallas, the Valencian festivity par excellence, is a big event in Sagunto, from the 14th to the 19th of March, that's St. Joseph's Day. Artistic wooden and paper mache monuments are erected in the streets of the town. Their scathing characters, known as ninots, make satirical reference to politicians, footballers, or global warming. Nothing escapes the artist's critical eye. Sagunto celebrated Las Fallas for the very first time in 1926, when some neighbors visited the workshops in the capital city of Valencia. Sagunto's Holy Week, which celebrates the Passion of Christ and culminates on Easter Sunday, holds the category of a national tourist interest festivity. It goes back to the 16th century. It always began on Easter Thursday and is the most important festival in Sagunto. The main ceremonies take place in the shrines of La Sang, El Calvari and Santa Maria, which are the three vertices of a triangle spanning the very heart of the old walled city. Easter Friday is a big day. The Stations of the Cross take a route from La Sang to El Calvari. In that week, different processions are announced by the solemn sound of drums and bugles and the acclamations of the brotherhoods. The Passion of Christ is performed live. There are sacred music concerts, the famous silent procession, and the Resurrection Mass. On the first Sunday in October, the festivity, Moors and Christians, is celebrated to honour Our Lady of Good Remedy. Both the Moors and the Christians stage mock battles, the former ones defending the city, while the latter hoping to take the city for the glory of God. Each group displays their best attire, armour and weapons. Medieval markets in the Old Town also remind us of the past. Visitors may stroll through a wide range of stalls and buy some traditional cheese or ham or handmade leather items, or just enjoy the hawking shows or laugh at the jesters. The Old Town pays tribute to its patron saints, the martyrs Abdon and Sonnen, on the second fortnight of July, and to Our Lady of Good Success in the first fortnight of September. The port pays tribute to Our Lady of Begonia during the first 2 weeks of August and to Our Lady of Mount Carmel in mid-July. The local colour includes sporting events, music, Haifa corridas, art exhibitions, the traditional chopa and fireworks. Not to be missed either are the cucañas, brightly coloured paper containers filled with candies and toys. The Mediterranean Sea, cradle of the culture named after it. This clean sea constitutes the eastern border of Sagunto's coast, a village completely open to the sea. The sea mirrors Sagunto, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Sagunto, a destination of contrasts.